Last week, I asked if you would rather be very wealthy or successful in a given field. But before we get to that, looking ahead to next week, would you rather be able to be perfectly understood by people who you speak to, or be able to perfectly understand what others are trying to convey? I look forward to responding to your comments down below, and of course, discussing it in depth next week. So, on that note, moving on to last week's question.
Ah.
Wealth or success? The two are kind of fun to think about because obviously one affects the other. To be very wealthy often means being successful, and success can lead to wealth. It's kind of a question more of what you would choose to be successful in, because that's going to weigh a lot more heavily on whether you value that over wealth. Obviously, I can always choose to just be successful in something which makes a lot of wealth, say successful in business or predicting the stock market. But if I'm going to do that, it's just kind of the long way around to being wealthy. I perfectly understand wanting to feel like you are earning your wealth, but if I'm going to choose success anyway, I feel like I'm going to choose something a little bit more interesting, just personally. So, with wealth being so much more straightforward than success, which is open ended, I figure it's easier to start there. Wealth grants a lot of things. For me personally, I'm not going to choose wealth because I want a fancy house and nice car. I mean, okay, yes, I want those things as well. But to me, wealth is more about security and freedom of choice. If I have a lot of money that I don't need to worry where my paycheck is coming, when it's going to arrive, any deals with taxes or anything, then I know that I have my next meal. I'm going to be able to travel if I need to, deal with medical expenses, and with that stability, I'm not just I'm not living my life worried about those things. I'm living my life for the sake of living my life, and that's very nice. And of course, once that's all packed in, I also get that freedom that again, I'm not worried about where my next meal comes or how I'm going to pay rent this month. So I can just do whatever I want and not worry about needing to be at a certain place at a certain time or any of those other factors. I can help friends when I want to. I can take a day off when I need it. I can be sick, which it sounds ridiculous, but for many people, being sick is literally not an option, which seems silly. And of course, there's also all of the luxuries, having that car, being able to eat better food, something that goes often overlooked, getting a gym membership. For that matter, I've really wanted for ages to get a personal trainer just to make working out more effective, not to mention safe. And it just goes on like that. Of course, I can use my wealth to do good things. I can, as said, help friends, family. I can donate to charities. I can even push politics to be towards what I think is right. Whether or not I'm right is something to be discussed, but it's okay. It's something that I can do. I can use my wealth for good things. No matter how successful someone might be, big projects always require funding somewhere, and being wealthy means being able to choose which projects you think are important. On a more sinister note, sinister might be the wrong word for it, but there's a great respect that comes from wealth, and not just from toadies. A lot of people respect wealth because there's a pervasive mental, societal mentality that says that when I have wealth, I must deserve it for some reason. And it's more political for me to say that laws just don't apply to rich people the same way. Certainly, fines don't mean anything if I'm worth several $billions, to say nothing of court systems, which are much easier if you can afford a fancy lawyer who can spend many hours working on your case alone and is probably just a better lawyer. I think these are things that everyone knows, though, so I don't really feel bad about this degree of politics. It's just kind of comes with being wealthy. And you get influence directly or indirectly. You can buy influence. How many people do we see on the news who the only reason their opinion seems to matter to anybody is because they're rich, and that wealth has an opinion value that someone on the street just doesn't? I'm not really saying this is good or bad, it's just part of the bundle of being wealthy. Meanwhile, success is often its own reward. Everybody likes feeling like they're accomplishing things, and there's big things to accomplish. Often, when I'm successful, if I absolutely know that I'm going to be successful at something, there's a good chance that I can do basically anything that I want to, pursue any interest, and almost every interest has some degree of marketability. And even those things which aren't directly marketable, if I'm choosing some field which I want to be successful in, which I know that isn't going to be able to profit me directly, that means that I'm looking for success in something which I value over money. And I can hardly fault someone for that, whether it be success in love or dealing with conflict, or hell, even success in being happy. I feel like with a lot of these would you rather questions, it's really an issue of individual priorities. A cup of water doesn't mean anything to somebody who's drowning, but to somebody in the desert, it might mean the world. And I do think that it's fair to say that it's easier to donate your success, so to speak, if you already are financially stable, but I can't look down on you for it regardless. And success also gives chances to do things which maybe nobody else can do, or in a manner which nobody else can do. If I choose to be successful in AI research, that's going to change the world. And if I choose to be successful in, say, curing certain diseases, that might be something that saves millions of lives and gets us all out of the house a little sooner, which most people are going to be rather grateful for. So there is definitely a lot of merit to choosing success also. But at the end of the day, I still think that I'm personally going to choose wealth. It is selfish. I'm absolutely under no belief that it's not selfish. It's me choosing myself first. But I've spent a lot of time learning that it's okay to put yourself first, a little. Still, I mean, you should always be looking for chances to help people when it doesn't hurt you, and to use some of those opportunities which you have to make other people's lives better. If you have wealth, you should definitely be using it for the sake of good. And I'm not just going to be lazy, I'm always going to be interested in things and being productive with my day in little ways. But for me personally, maybe not for you, but I just want to be able to live my life rather than worry about my life. It's just too valuable to me choosing for myself that I want the freedom, I want the stability. I'm sorry, I really want to be able to enjoy my life to its fullest. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Next week, I'll be discussing whether you would rather be understood or understand. And as always, until next time, see ya.